Good morning, everybody. All right, it's all happening. It is a Monday morning, and we're up, we're live, we're ready to go. We're alive, which is good. I see Gary van der Walt says, good morning from Devilsdorp, and proud of it. Okay. All right, Gary. That's what you say. Bulelo's here, and Leigh-Ann, and me, and you, and that's really all that matters. You can definitely feel things are improving, but they tell me there's this really horrible cold front coming. This really spoiled my day yesterday. I got this warning from everybody who now suddenly everyone's a meteorologist as well. They're like, well, there's this terrible cold front coming, and it's heading straight for us, and there's going to be snow in Johannesburg. Wouldn't that be nice, though?
It would be, but it's not going to be in the places where either any of the three of us reside. It's going to be sort of Witwatersrand side.
Where's that?
It snowed in primary school when I was playing soccer, and we had to put on jerseys at half time, literally in the middle of Bryanston. That literally happened. They forced us both teams. Yeah. No, that I'll never forget it. Brindale Primary School.
Snow.
Like,
It did snow in Johannesburg a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, of course it did, Gareth.
People told me that, but when I drove around, it looked like it was just a little bit of sleet. It wasn't snow.
You live in Centurion. Nice things don't happen there.
I was in Joburg when that supposed snow happened. You're all talking shit. It was nothing. Maybe my expectation just didn't meet the reality. I don't know.
Oh, it wasn't Chamonix. Just to be clear, yeah.
No, sure.
It didn't crunch under your foot as you walked.
Oh. How boring. Beth says it snowed here in 2012.
Yes.
Hermine says Santon. I was in Santon when it snowed. It was awesome. Bullshit. All of you are lying.
Gareth, what are you talking about? It was a big thing.
It wasn't snow. It was pathetic, man. Please,
It's like
a little bit
etched in my memory.
You're suffering from a multiple. What do you call this? Like a group delusion.
We're not suffering. I think you're suffering.
There was nothing. You're all full of shit. So Andy says, Andy says in response to Gary's message that Gary's very proud of living in Devilsdorp, Krugersdorp, right? So Andy says, Gary, don't forget to satanize when going into public places. Sanitize, yeah. So, okay, seriously, can either of you are you more well versed in this thing than I am? I'll take your word on the snow having happened once before, but do you really think that it's gonna, we're gonna have proper snow, or is this just nonsense that someone made up?
No, but what's proper snow? Like, are we talking like this needs to be Val d'Isère? I'm putting my skis on, or what do you mean by proper?
Obviously, we're not at the right altitude for all that kind of thing. And we're never going to get like a layer of snow this thick. You can't do anything with it. It's not going to happen here. We're going to have like a little dusting of it. It'll be like when it's meant to rain, but it's suddenly this very strange gray, and then these little tiny droplets that turn to ice just before they hit the earth. That's kind of what's going to happen, and it'll be barely noticeable to most people. Because they'll be so busy. They'll be so busy on their phones, they won't even see anything.
I think definitely the outlying areas of Joburg will experience snow. The parts of Joburg that you exit from when you're driving towards Cape Town or Durban. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. It snows in Clarence. It's like an hour and a half drive away, like maybe 2. I don't know what Gareth's talking about.
You mean, what, like the shitty parts of Joburg? What, like Heidelberg?
I meant Witwatersrand. What did I say?
But where is that? Because I thought the Witwatersrand was the whole area. That's a description of that whole ridge.
Now I'm going to have to go into Google Maps and look, guys.
No, there's no such places. Hey, what are you talking about? Give me proper geography here. What's wrong with you? First thing in the Monday morning, and you talking shit.
Get back to me. I'm researching.
All right. While she's researching, whatever. I don't.
Fuck you.
I, no, what do you mean? I mean, here's Derek. He says, Leigh-Ann, what do you mean Witwatersrand?
Well, I don't know what it's called. Hang on.
Yeah. I mean, these. This is like
You know
me saying,
when you get in the car and you start traveling to Durban.
yeah, then you have to.
What are some of the first cities that you see and you think, not cities but towns, and you think, oh God, thank goodness I don't live here.
Heidelberg. Heidelberg,
Yeah.
Germiston, if you drive that way. Terrible places.
You know, when I know that things are going downhill, Gareth, it's when I start to come to your area. There's the Mint, or what's that Mint place?
Yeah.
Once I go past that Mint place, things change. Things change for the worst.
For the better.
And then I know I've left the sanctuary.
You know, I was driving on, was it Friday? Yeah, Friday. Yeah. And I drove past, you know, you get like Stain City, and then you've got like Diepsloot, right? And you couldn't have much more contrast than that. You got Stain City, which is this kind of new money paradise where, you know, they're building these enormous blocks of flats, and they've got these huge houses, and, you know, it's supposedly very, I don't know, it's a zhuzh neighborhood for some people. And then right next door, you've got Diepsloot, which is like just squatter shacks, and like literally people are wading through rubbish to get to their front door. And I thought about this, and I'm like, you know, only in South Africa could we have this kind of thing right next door to that kind of thing. Only here.
Not true. So in Russia, it's even worse.
And Alex Township, you know, it's an incredible contrast. It's bizarre to me. And you can see it. You look out of your left window, and you literally see the squalor. And you cover your right window. White window.
Your white window.
Your right window.
Your black window. You see something else.
Now that Freudian slip is actually poignant. There. Once you look out your white window, it's not too bad.
Right, exactly.
No, guys.
Robin says you drive through Krugersdorp, and that's Robin. You're talking absolute nonsense. Krugersdorp is west.
That would be
and southeast. Robin, you would be. I'm never going to take directions from Robin. If someone called Robin gives me directions, I'm going the other way. That's it. Leigh-Ann is still using those nationalist party maps.
So what I meant was it's in the Transvaal.
In the Transvaal,
yeah.
All right, yeah, excellent. Ruth
Sorry,
says,
I was looking through my white window.
don't have Wi-Fi at the moment, so we'll download later. Been missing you guys. Thank God for Cliff Central. All right, thanks, Ruth. So listen, speaking of rumors, it's not just that we've got this terrible cold front coming that's going to freeze our bollocks off, but we've also supposedly today there's going to be all kinds of shit all over the country, right? So don't say you didn't hear it. Like I don't know how much this is rumor mongering, because it's become, you know, with the coronavirus and all the lockdown scares, and tomorrow Cyril's going to ban alcohol or whatever. There's so much bullshit out there, so much fake news, that you don't really know what to believe anymore. So I don't know. When people say to me, "Oh, there's going to be some trouble because today Jacob Zuma's, you know, they protests and people are just going to take to the streets. It's going to be all kinds of unrest." That's the word they use. Now, they may be right, so I'm just repeating it in case they're right. And then you say to me tomorrow, "Oh, thanks for telling us," but I don't know. I don't have any facts to say that anything's going to happen. Also, I think the faction of people who caused all that shit a couple of weeks ago, I think they were kind of chased home with their tails between their legs eventually. And I think many of those people were just opportunists who took advantage of chaos to, you know, steal a TV or whatever. But I don't know that they're that organized. Certainly, if they might have been organized a little bit more for that one, but this one, it looks like a and again, I say this with my, fingers crossed. It looks like Cyril and the team might be a little bit more prepared. They might have actually got some, in inverted commas, intel on this one. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen videos of lanes, kilometer-long lanes of SANDF people coming in the Phoenix area of Durban, police cars.
Right. Well, Chris says everything's fine in Salt Rock in Durban. Okay, well, that's great, Chris. As long as you're okay, that's all that really that's anything that matters to us. Tracy says when people still talk about the PWV area, the Pretoria Witwatersrand Vereniging area. Yeah, that's great.
You want to hear the biggest joke in the world?
What?
So let me call my father conservative, and
sounds like a good gentleman.
He came back from Germany, and I grew up in an area close to where you're talking about, Diepsloot, and he came home from what my sister says was a week, and he doesn't do traffic and mets, and within a week he was living in the Vaal, as Leigh-Ann and her people might say, with the NPA maps. But you won't believe who lives on his road.
Who?
Pierre Boerte's house is one of the houses, and the de Klerk household, because you know the NPA used to be in the Valde.
They were very strong.
So he lives in a place called Three Rivers now. Okay. And so on his road, literally, the de Klerk household and the Boerte household. Yeah.
Well, that's convenient. I was speaking to a friend of mine who she lived out on a farm, but it was quite near to Tokyo Sequale's little weekend getaway, and she said they never had load shedding and shit there. So
we're in Cape Town.
No, here in Gauteng. So no, here, it's sort of out near, I suppose, Henops River, that kind of area. Anyway, she said the lesson that she learnt then is always find out where the prominent politicians live, and live near them. You won't have any problems. The roads always
my road.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
I've not had load shedding once. So that's why I always say thoughts and prayers. Whenever I hear about load shedding, I've read about it. I have not experienced it once.
Do you know where Cyril lives?
I know where he lives in Hyde Park, but I don't know where he lives. I think he has another house out here.
Yeah, I don't know where he lives when he's in Joburg, and that irritates me because I used to know where Jacob Zuma lived, and I'd like to know where these things are. Drive past.
People gotta know.
You gotta know when to go like this past a politician's house. Put your middle finger up. Tracy raises something really interesting I saw on the internet. There's shit brewing down under. All sorts of protests and revolts are being planned. I saw this over the weekend and I thought, my friends in Australia have finally grown a pair of bollocks. They've finally grown some balls. They're starting to stand up for themselves. In places like Melbourne, they're actually openly protesting. Dictator Dan, who said there will be no meeting on a footpath and having a beer and being in the sun. And he actually said this weekend, you are not to talk to other people because talking to other people could put you in hospital. And then he said,
no.
Oh, no, he did. This is what he said. He said, don't go outside and watch the sun set. It is very dangerous. I mean, this is the kind of thing that this guy's actually saying. I mean, this guy has to be the world's most disconnected little shithead dictator you've ever seen. Just shows you, in power, some politicians, you give them a bit of power and you see what their quality of character really is. And this little turd, I mean, if I lived in Victoria State, which is where Dictator Dan is the premier, I would be livid right now. Apparently people in Melbourne were protesting and being hit with rubber bullets by police. And it's really it's time that people there just stood up against this nonsense. If you really believe in anything to do with civilization or liberty, this is what you ought to do in Melbourne and Australia. Really, it's outrageous that people are being treated
I don't know if it's
children.
I don't know if it's going to work if people revolt, because So to me, what it seems like is that the leadership in Australia are so focused on doing the right thing and being seen properly and being seen as being doing the right thing, that if there are protests, they might clamp down on those people.
Oh, they will.
And
They'll try.
ignore the issue. And
They love
ignore the issue behind it, just so that they can see that they were, don't worry, everyone, we're in control. We nabbed the few.
Yeah, I know they'll try that. But if there's so many people that they can't, that's when you win. You know, it always, it's really like politicians always operate in a very, very thin margin of error. Like it's very easy for just a few people to tip that margin in the favor of everyone. And it just takes balls. That's really all it takes. And I mean, Dad says not enough people in Australia will protest. The majority don't have the balls because they actually love being told what to do. What is it?
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say, in places like that, there's something in psychoanalysis they call manufactured consent, is that you don't need to actually tell the people what to do. They followed the rules for so long, and you've kind of beaten them down by like a slow drip of taking their rights away so long, and they think they're free. And it generally happens in the first world. You see it now, especially with like UK, Australia. Is we used the word supine last time, but they're so passive in those countries. They are such. There's no way they're protesting. They don't know how to.
Well, this is maybe you've answered Derek's question already, but he says, what is it about politicians that makes them feel superior to the very people that put them in their positions? They get addicted. The trappings of power are extraordinarily addictive. And if you are used to having the highway cleared for you so you can go really fast, and you're used to not paying for anything, and you're used to someone figuring out all the things that you need to worry about that ordinary people, deal with on a daily basis. So, my kids need to go to X or Y school. I need to get up at this time in the morning. I need to worry about what's for supper. All those things that we think about, the politicians have someone deputized to take care of they become infantilized in some parts of their life. And then in other parts of their life, they get to make these wide, far-reaching, incredibly important and life-changing decisions for others. And they start getting a bit of a God complex. They start to actually believe that they're special. They forget how they got there. They forget why they got there. And they start to think in their mind that they start to conceive of this idea that they might be extra special. They might have some secret ingredient the rest of us don't. And it goes straight to their heads. You could see it. That's why it's so hard to wedge them out of position once they're there. They hate it. They hate being reminded that they're just human and mortal and ordinary. This is so funny, Annette, just making my point about the contrast in South Africa. Right next to Porsche and Witkoppen is a squatter camp.
Yeah.
Very true.
I've seen it.
I mean,
crazy.
the Cape Town is a perfect example of where you find these incidents, where you've got like quite a fancy house, and literally on the border is a squatter camp.
Yeah.
How
Andy says that Dr. Abdul Karim has stated the fourth wave will hit us in early December and will last 75 days. And people are already repeating this on mainstream media. This is according to Andy. I mean, how? How do you predict this? And also, so what? So fucking what? Let's get back to work. Let's stop with this lockdown shit. It's not helpful anymore. People now have the opportunity to get vaccinated. They must go and get vaccinated if they're worried about the coronavirus, and let us open the country up. We simply cannot afford to carry on with these dumb rules, these curfews, these restrictions on buying things on a Friday or a Monday, these outrageous incursions into our freedom. We should not have to put up with this. And I'll tell you what, if the government think they can keep going ad infinitum, bringing a new wave whenever they need to renew Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma's state of, I don't know what they call it, awareness, emergency, high alert, whatever it is, fucking nonsense. Stop it. It's childish and it needs to end now. Because after the fourth wave, they're going to say, there's a fifth wave. And by the time we get to 2073, we'll still be sitting around, those of us who lived that long, and we'll be going, what is it now? It's the 52nd or 53rd wave. Yes, we're going to live with coronavirus forever, and some of us will die from it. And you know what? In between, there are those people who will just get on with their lives and won't even be touched by coronavirus. It's now endemic. It's a part of life. It is pointless to wear these stupid masks, to sanitize, to lock people, to stop children from going to school. Stop being stupid, you fucking morons. This thing kills a tiny percentage of people. And I'm over it now. I'm not having this conversation with people anymore. When they start with, "Have you heard there's a fourth wave on the way?" I go, yeah. Yeah. It's coming. It's going to be worse. It's coming for you. It's coming for your children. It's coming for your genitals. It's coming for everything you care about. Get fucking ready. It's going to be horrible. Horrible. It's going to take you out and your family and all the people you love. Get ready. And you know what? If it scares you, you're an idiot. It's just, you're stupid now. I cannot. It's like people who have no scientific background who want to argue with me about whether or not the vaccine is effective. I don't want to hear from you. I'm not interested in what you have to say. If you want to get this vaccine, good. If you don't want to get it, fine. Then you take the risk. Get on with it. Leigh-Ann, you've had the vaccine now. Are you less worried about things? Are you living your life a bit more normally?
I've had the first one, and yeah, I am a little less worried. I feel a little more protected. And
good.
I'm meant to go on Friday for the second one, but I presumed that the stations were going to be busy because of the opening of over 18s. So I'll wait until the end of this week, and then I'm done and dusted. Then you know what I've done? I've done what I can.
Done what you can.
Then it's down to the same percentage as me being hit by a bus or dying of influenza.
Right. Or as in Australia's case, because that's why I'm so angry about this morning, is that there are places in the world where they just have stopped. Common sense has just flown out of the window. It's amazing.
Unbelievable.
And then they'll never get back to normal. Some people actually don't want to. They don't like the idea of going back to normal because they like being in this state of perpetual.
They're used to this new normal. You know, they're used to it now.
How about this? Right. Sorry, Leigh-Ann. And you're quite right. This new state, and I think you're onto a good point there. But I just want to say, your big mate Jacinda has now. Jacinda, she gets up early in the morning. It sucks. So Jacinda says is New Zealand's rugby team has now pulled out of the rugby championship. Right. So that's South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina. So Australia, get this. Australia went to New Zealand. They did all the political stuff, blah, blah, blah. Quarantine, did the whole thing, stayed in a bubble in agreement that New Zealand would do the same. Like, obviously, you know, we're all conservative. We really want to.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And yeah, so New Zealand didn't communicate with anyone, not South Africa, not the other three teams that have moved heaven and earth to ensure that we're in the midst of this tournament. They announced it on social media that, oh, by the way, guys, we're not coming Australia, by the way, and forget South Africa.
You know what that's like? It's like you organize a braai with your 4 best friends, okay? Your 3 best friends. There are 4 of you gonna braai together. And then one of them pitches up without telling anybody. No, sorry, doesn't even pitch up. Doesn't tell anyone that they've turned vegan and decides, well, they're not going to be catering for me anyway, so I'm just not going to pitch. Doesn't tell you and ghosts you on social media and on your phone. And you're all phoning them to check that they're alive because you think maybe something terrible's happened. But they just don't pitch for the braai. And then you find out 3 days later, they phone you and they go, sorry, I didn't come on Sunday, but, you know, I knew you guys wouldn't have any vegan food because you always eat meat and I didn't tell you. That's the kind of person. That's what New Zealand's turning into, that kind of person. It's like the Karen of nations.
But you know what pisses me off, right, is the fact that, like, when South Africa had, you know, there's always this thing, and it's why politicians, let's push them all into the sea, all of them, and let the sharks have them. Because you remember when South Africa had apartheid, right? And what did the world say? No political interference from that level of government in sport. There is no way you're telling me Jacinda hasn't stuck her fingers in this, right? There is no way.
They all have.
New Zealand really should be banned because it's very clear in the IOC. Any government intervention,
ban them.
Any government intervention is a ban. You should be in isolation. Like, let's not take the piss here as well. So that really pisses me off. Bloody rainy, tiny little island. No one cares.
But on the other hand, sport is sort of going back to normal, right?
Oh, like America's back. The NFL's about to launch. The Premier League's had full stadiums. We're back now. I say we, the global world, first world's back. South Africa, maybe 2073, as you said.
And this just proves the point. Like, as soon as the media and government switch off the ticket tape at the bottom of the screen that tells you how many people are dead or infected, and it's usually infected, it's not even dead. Once they switch that thing off, which they've done from time to time, right? They switch it off, and then people stop panicking. They get on with their lives. Yeah. Just stop it. Just stop. Stupid. Stop and stupid. ST. First two letters of both words. Stop being stupid.
In crisis, why do we always pander to panickers? So I don't allow people who panic in my personal life. You're not allowed at my house. So I kick people out of my house who whinge. You're not allowed to whinge at my house. My house is not a place to come and whinge. I've kicked people out before, and I will continue to do it in life. No. You don't come.
God. We're not allowed to poo at Gareth's house, and we're not allowed to whinge at yours. I'm so glad I've got my own house where I can poo and whinge.
Yes, you can poo and whinge. All right, go on.
No, but I just don't understand why people sort of pander to whinging panickers when there's crisis. Why are we doing this?
Even worse. I've said this a million times about South Africa, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I can't believe we're still talking about this 500 or 600 days into our lockdown. You're trusting the same people who you wouldn't trust, you couldn't trust to run electricity and water and basic infrastructure and service delivery. These are the people that they couldn't do those levels of things. You really think that they're in a position to deal with the pandemic? And they go, yeah. And these are people who were saying to you at the beginning of it, no, but Willem Kies is an actual doctor. You're like, you mean the guy who's now been fired and is being investigated for corruption because he couldn't keep his filthy pig's trotters off of the money that he saw available for PPE tenders, and getting a company called Digital Vibes to funnel money to his family. This is the guy that you're going to trust to solve the health crisis that we're in? You deserve to be
I just want to put something in here. There is a viral video that's gone viral of some guy in the US at a forum of sorts where he's been filmed, and he releases some scary stats about the side effects of vaccines, etc. And the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because I saw a number of South Africans reposting it on their TikTok. If you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And just to debunk all of the stuff around it.
I haven't seen it. So is this guy an anti-vaxxer?
Yes, very much so. And he mentions that, and you know, I don't want to spread false information here. In fact, I'm not. I'm just reporting what he said. He said basically your children will be sterile if they have the vaccine, etc. So he's gone to the really extreme side of things.
There's no way he could know that, and there's no way you can know that.
No, exactly.
And I'm talking from a scientific point of view, not just that's how I feel. I spoke to somebody about that because I've heard about it. Anyway, there's no geneticist in the world who would know that. But anyway, go ahead, because you can't.
He says he studied medicine at Oxford. Turns out it's in a town called Oxford in Ohio.
All right.
Secondly, he calls himself a doctor. He's a doctor in education.
Oh God, like Jill Biden. Dr. Jill Biden. Right. Yeah.
So if you do happen to see that video, because he has a way of inciting panic and making you listen. So if you happen to see that video, just don't even bother watching it, because it's not based on science.
I'm not so worried. I don't understand this fear that people have for fake news as well. I mean, we've always had fake news. There's always been a bunch of people, like I was saying earlier, there's this rumor mongering that goes around, like today is the day of unrest, right? That today, you don't go to certain places in KZN, and maybe it's true, maybe it isn't. Who knows? You really don't know. You can't even trust the mainstream media. Don't tell me you know for sure. We were saying this morning, jokingly, well, we're not sure if anything's going to happen or not. We don't even know if there's a cold front coming or not. So are we going to suddenly call all the meteorologists who are telling us this week it's going to be snow in Joburg when it doesn't happen, which is equal in chance to the fact that it does happen? It's 50-50. When it does or doesn't snow, are we going to go and fetch the meteorologists who said it was going to snow and put them in stocks in the middle of town and throw rotten fruit at them and never trust them again? Hell no. Now, do we call them fake news purveyors? Maybe some people will, but most of us will go, nah, they got it wrong this time. Move on. I don't care that there's some dude who's busy spreading anti-vaccine information. Those people who actually fall for that stuff, cool. We need to thin out the population. Let them believe him. It's the same as if there are people who are terrified of coronavirus, and they lock themselves in their houses, and they're wearing 4 masks, and they don't let their children even talk to them. That's fine. Those people are, by their own dysfunction and by their own fear, they're going to wipe themselves out. Good. We need to thin out the herd. I don't have a problem with any of that. Let it happen. And if there's fake news, tough titties, there's fake news. I'll still be able to decide for myself. I don't need Jen Psaki at the White House to tell me what I should and shouldn't believe. And I don't need someone on YouTube to say, this is or this isn't fake news, a fake fact checker. What do they call them? Fact checker, right? Don't worry, I'll be fine. I think I can figure out my way around this. And if I can't and I'm the idiot, then I'll die. And you don't have to worry about me spreading in disinformation anymore. Let's just get on with it. What is this paralyzing fear people have for fake news too? There's always been fake news. You know those people who spread those stories about UFOs and Sasquatches in the mountains and like
flat earthers.
Flat earthers, Loch Ness monsters. Those people have never been happier than when the internet was invented because they can find each other. Before, if you were at a school and there were, like, let's say there are 500 people at your school and you're a flat earther, you couldn't find another flat earther at your school. I mean, unless there was some other family who grew up under a rock. So what you did is you'd think it, and then eventually you'd go, yeah, well, I better shut up about this flat earth theory of mine because I can't really find any fertile ground to sow my seeds on. Now with the internet, you go in there, you type in flat earth, there's a society of people you can join, you can be on a Facebook page together, you can shit. You can sit and talk shit to each other all day long. It's fantastic. Just love it. And God bless the internet for doing all of this for us. We get to have all the crazies in one convenient place. Follow those pages. It's hilarious. And if people say to you, flat earth, do you believe that the earth is flat? Say to them, yeah, it's my favorite. That's what I think. That's where we're ahead of all those supposed scientists. We know the earth is flat. We can tell. That's our thing. I interviewed one of these guys the other day. I think you must go to the heart of these conspiracy theories. You must talk to the anti-vaxxers and the nutcases and the misinformation and disinformation people. Talk to them because it's hilarious. Don't be afraid of them. And when people ban this stuff, all they do is they give it more power. Because then it sounds like, it's something the government has banned. When the government bans something, people just want to know more about it. That's all that happens. So don't ban it. Don't give it power. Go straight to the heart of it and ask them, so what happens to the water on the edge of the earth? I'm curious about how that works. Oh, well, it actually just goes right round the other side. Oh, really? That's fascinating. You got to talk to these people because it'll blow your mind how they justify this stuff.
Do you know any flat earthers in your personal life? I met one, and I literally walked away when she said.
You met one?
No, yeah, I met one, and as she said it, I stopped her and I walked the other direction. I've got stuff to do.
You're missing out. You've missed a chance there to learn some really funny things, some hysterical contortions and cognitive gymnastics. You've got to talk to these people. Don't be afraid of fake news. It's fantastic. Anyway,
ask them all the questions.
Yeah, definitely. You could keep yourself busy for hours. Dr. Hanan is ready to talk to us. It's going to be okay, is what we do every Monday. How are you really doing this morning? Well, we're going to check in with Dr. Hanan about our mental health and our general psychological well-being. He is a psychologist, the head of the Anxiety and Trauma Clinic in Johannesburg. And Claire sent us a question for Dr. Hanan this morning. Hey, Dr. Hanan, how's it?
Hey, how's it, Gareth? How you doing?
Good, good. So Claire sent this question. She says, it's an issue that comes up often when we talk about mental health, but we haven't delved into it properly with the doc yet. So let's do this today. She says, what are the effects of social media on health? This kind of links to what I was saying just now about the crazy people on social media. But in some ways, there's some very serious things going on. And it's a conversation I actually had yesterday with a friend of mine who's a mom. She's got kids, and she has very special and strict rules in place for the kids when it comes to social media. But we almost need some rules for adults on social media too, because people are so badly affected by this stuff. Of course, there are good. We're not going to go into the benefits and the good things about social media because they are pretty obvious to most of us. But what do you think when people come to you and they say, oh, Dr. Hanan, I can't live without those likes. It's just become my chief focus. And the real world isn't as important to me as the virtual world. Where do you start with someone like that? And maybe that's an extreme, but you can give us an overview of the things you've learned about social media and the way it's impacting on mental health.
So when anybody comes to me and says, I can't live without ... that's when I start to worry. It could be likes, it could be a particular person, it could be an object, it could be a TV show. You should never be in a position where you can't live without any particular anything. And social media is we're not going to go into the benefits of it, but if you don't use it wisely, it can be incredibly addictive. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. You can come back to it over and over again to get your particular type of drug, and it doesn't go away. It keeps on renewing itself. It keeps on subjecting it to us. It's always available. I always tell a fascinating story. My oldest patient ever was a 94-year-old, short, this high German lady. And she was telling me that, Hanan, when I was growing up, time was time. And I said to her, what do you mean? And she said, think about it. If I wanted to communicate with a friend that lived in another province, I would write them a letter. It would take 2 weeks to get there. They would write a response, and it would take 2 weeks to get back. It would take about a month to say, hey, how are you? Good, thanks. And you. These days, God forbid you write somebody a WhatsApp and they blue tick you and they don't respond within the first 3 seconds. Unfortunately, God forbid, wars I'm sure have been started by people not responding immediately. So the number of breakups that I see are because messages are not being responded to immediately. And what social media has done is that it created this lack of need to wait and be patient. Back in the day, you had no choice but to be patient. That was the way it is. You couldn't hurry the postman up. You couldn't hurry the system up. It was what it was. These days, as I said, immediately you want that hit. You want to feel good about yourself. It's accessible just in your pocket. Think about it. The drug that you seek is accessible to you wherever you go. In your car, you want to hit? No issue. At work, you want to hit? No issue. You get out the shower, you want to hit? No issue. It's accessible and available. And this availability of this, and I'll define the drug in a second, but this availability of the drug is what makes it so potent and so dangerous, because nobody's judging you, nobody's watching you. It's completely accepted. And the drug that we all get from social media is this need to belong. We all feel that we are part of this crazy, amazing community and people like us. So think about it. How many friends you have on Facebook? So, you have, 500, 1,000 or 2,000 friends or whatever it is. Friends. The term is friends.
Yeah.
Add a friend. It's a loaded term, but how many of those people would you actually say, these are my friends? These are the people that I would invite to my birthday. And these are the people that I would call when I need help or when I'm in trouble. Social media loads up these terms, and suddenly you have 2,000 friends. 2,000 friends. And even if you think about it, the likes, if you get a like or a heart, again, a like is such a loaded word. But how long does it take somebody to like your post or to like your picture? It's just, they don't even look at the picture. They don't even read your comments. They press a button and you go, oh my God, this person likes me. So what social media has done really well is it kind of tagged onto this really primitive brain of ours that makes us feel that, oh my God, this person really likes me. This person is really my friend. And that's what we keep on going back to with such easy accessibility, which can be the danger.
You reckon it's that need to belong that we're talking about here? It's belonging is the most important reward, the sense of belonging from all of this. Because Michael says it's serotonin, but it's actually dopamine, isn't it?
Yeah, it hits the part of your brain that cocaine hits. So it's the reward centers of the brain that makes you feel that you've just won the Oscar or you just won a major award, and everybody and the focus is on you in a positive way. Social media can highlight you and make you the star in a split second. And as you can see, what's happening with especially youngsters is that they don't get the like through doing something appropriate, and suddenly they get the likes by doing something inappropriate. And the bar keeps on raising and raising and raising because you get used to the status quo, and people have to push the boundaries more and more. People suddenly have to start doing things that are completely out of appropriate realm to get the same like that they 3 years ago got just by, I don't know, posting a picture of themselves.
So what does this do to your mental health long term if that starts happening?
Yeah, well, it does the same thing to your mental health that drugs do to a drug addict. You become dependent on it, and you're spending tremendous amount of time focusing on things that you shouldn't focus on as opposed to things that you should. So people say to me, Hanan, what's the problem? So you know what? So I log on to social media and I get the like, I get the hit of adrenaline or the hit of serotonin or the hit of dopamine. So what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is two things. How much time do you spend searching for the stuff that you should be spending at the gym or spending with your kids or spending at work? And suddenly you blame your life for not being good enough and you not being happy because you're spending a lot of time searching for that like. But the biggest cost is the cravings that we have for it. So we get the like, it's like a cigarette. Think about smoking. That's the easiest way to explain. We have a hit of a cigarette for those of you that smoke, and you put down the cigarette and the cravings start to build. You don't go back to status quo to feel good until you need the next cigarette. The craving starts to build, and that energy that you use in searching for the next thing to give you that hit is what wastes your coins. Remember, I gave you the analogy of the coin theory. You wake up every morning and you've got 100 units of energy. That's it. The moment your units are up, your body goes good night, and you wake up the next morning with another 100. The problem is when you waste all your coins, you spend all your coins by 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and sure, you've got 10 hours in the day, but now you're functioning at a deficit. And the coins that we use, the energy that we use to satisfy the craving is not the energy that we're using on things that are meaningful to us to create ultimate happiness and ultimate fulfillment and purpose in life. That's the real cost.
So that's interesting. So, Dr. Hanan, I was talking to somebody who I view as an elder and someone very wise, and I think it's the great failure of the secular world. So, like, I don't have religion in my life, and one of the things that I was asking her was, how do we get back to community again? Because one of the things that secularism does is that you become hyper individualistic, right? It's me as long as I'm competent. Is regardless of who we are and how smart we may think we are, we need community. We know that. We know what happens when people are alone. They do the most dangerous, most vile things and lean into that. Do you have any hope of from a sort of social scientist world of us finding a way back to learning how to just be civil again, if you know what I mean, without needing social media?
Yeah. So Bulelo, you're quite right. We do need to be a part of a group, a part of a context, because it calibrates us. We discussed it before, where we do need feedback, and the people that lean on themselves for feedback, they fall apart because you can't calibrate yourself. As much as we think we can be objective and calibrate ourselves, it just doesn't work. People actually go mentally skew when they try to calibrate themselves. An interesting analogy, pilots, and I'll get to your point or to answer your question in a second, Bulelo, but pilots are trained to never trust their own senses when they're flying. The pilots are trained to trust their instruments. My brother's a pilot, and what they do is they make them wear these visors that stop them from looking outside and trusting their senses. They actually look just at the instruments when they're flying. It's because your senses lie to you. So when you feel that the plane is upright, the plane could actually be upside down. And when it feels that the plane is upside down, it could be the plane is actually quite straight. So you should never trust your own feelings. And the problem with people is that they lean on instruments in the real world that, one, are skewed, and that's what social media does to you, which I'll get to in a second, or they lean on their own senses, on their own feelings to tell them whether they're doing the right or wrong thing, which is also wrong. And what ends up happening in the real world is that when you lean on senses or on instruments that are skewed, you begin to gaslight yourself, because the social media world will tell you when you do X that you're doing really well. And then the next day you do X again, and it tells you that you're upside down. And then you begin to second guess or actually go crazy because I don't know whether I'm doing right and wrong. And so therefore we do need to lean on feedback to calibrate us, but we need to lean on the right feedback, and social media is so inconsistent that it's wrong. So to get back to your question, social media eventually will just become incompetent at giving us that correct feedback, but I think it's going to catch us too late. I think we need to focus our attention on embracing groups that are healthy for us, from hobbies, from, if you are religious, from religious groups to education, things and people, instruments that calibrate you in the right way, but you must be very conscious in going to chase that.
Do you think that might already be happening? Because I know lots of people who are opting out of social media completely, or certainly the worst kinds of social media. Like a lot of people I know have decided to take Twitter and Facebook off. I mean, I don't know which one is more addictive, and maybe you can help me guess. But I think for a lot of people, these things are just such time wasters that even if it's just from a pragmatic point of view, some of them you have to have in your life. Like, I don't think WhatsApp's going anywhere anytime soon. It's a useful way for us to communicate. And WhatsApp is different because you don't just scroll, right? I mean, if you're not getting messages, you're not looking at it. And even if you are getting messages, but you're busy with something, you defer the looking of the messages until you're done with what your task at hand is. Well, smart people, sensible people who are in balance anyway. It's probably starting to happen slowly, but I've encountered a lot of people in the last while, purely anecdotal, who've said to me they just don't have these apps on their phones anymore. It's taking up too much time, and they cannot justify it to themselves, and it's making them crazy. I use the word crazy in obviously inverted commas here, but it's just a waste of their time. So do you think it's happening already?
Gareth, I think most people are, let's just say the majority are using social media in a healthy way because society kind of calibrates them. So work won't allow them to go on social media, and their wives or husbands won't allow them to go on social media. And when I say won't allow, is that the wives and the husband need their time, and their kids need their time, and their friends need their time, and the work needs their time. So it calibrates them, it gives them X amount of time to go on social media. But some people that don't have that kind of balance, they don't have a healthy relationship, or they don't have a healthy relationship with their kids or their friends or their social structures, or they don't have hobbies that take away their time away from social media. Those are the people that are at most danger of being addicted to social media. And addicts, and I'm talking about the ones that are addicted, people don't quit because they're sensible. 20 years ago, who quit smoking? 30 years ago, 40 years ago, who quit smoking? Nobody quit smoking, because even though the research was out there to tell them that smoking is bad, nobody cares because it feeds us on a very primitive, immediate level. So the reason why people quit social media, or for that matter, any addiction, is because government comes in and forces us, or parents come in and force us, or work comes in and forces with policies, with rules, with regulations, which is what has happened with smoking. Or you hit such a low bottom that you have no choice but to look for alternatives. So with social media, there aren't any regulations. I mean, you can go on Facebook for 12 hours in the day. So unfortunately, I don't see people not hitting rock bottom before they make their psychological behavioral shift.
What does rock bottom look like in terms of social media addiction? What does it look like? Have you encountered people like this in your clinical practice?
it's really bad. It's really is bad. I'm talking about the kind of depression that doesn't allow people to get out of bed. I'm talking about the kind of relationships that we look at that are completely abusive, breaking down good friendships. I mean, we see this a lot. You know, you might have a friend that you go, oh my God, this person's gone off the rails. He no longer speaks to us. The people on a health level put on weight. They are physically unhealthy. They're mentally unhealthy. It's bad. Addictions are not pretty. It doesn't get better. The problem with addictions is that it doesn't stay the same. You know, no smoker goes from 1 cigarette to 0. People go from 1 to 2 to 5 to get the same hit. And the same thing with social media. It doesn't. You don't stay. It gets progressively worse, especially because it's updating and becoming a lot more novel. So the cigarette, so to speak, becomes much more entertaining and much more addictive because it's much more interesting. Mark in a better way.
I don't know what's just happened with your sound. Are you? There we go.
There we go.
There we go. All right. Well, we've got like a minute. I just wanted to know one last thing. Is this is a very important question, and I think it cuts right to the heart of what we're talking about. You know, this worries me endlessly.
The tachlas. The word is tachlas.
That's funny. Right. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Tachlas. That's great.
This is very important. Okay. Somebody says here, I wake up every morning. I listen to this show. Does that mean I'm an addict? This is from John. He says, Dr. Bushkin's analogy in social media. I wake up every Monday being addicted to this show. Does that mean I'm addicted? Is that a terrible thing?
Right. Well, you know, where there's one winner, there's one loser, there's always 6 winners.
Yeah, all right. Nice. All right, Dr. Hanan, nice to speak to you.
All right, nice to see you guys.
Yeah, we'll pick up next week. And by the way, if you've got a question or you want to actually come on and talk to Dr. Hanan about a problem that may not just affect you, it may be affecting lots of people, then please do that. Send us an email, gareth@cliffcentral.com or contact@cliffcentral.com, and we will connect you with Dr. Hanan, and we can all benefit from the little ride that you go on with him. Very nice to see you. Thank you so much.
Nice to see you guys. Okay, be well.
Very good. There he is, Dr. Hanan Bushkin. It is 7:00 already. We got lots more coming your way. Stick around, cliffcentral.com. Busy Monday morning, including Collectomania today, our favorite part of a Monday. Today, we're going to speak to someone called Jayde, who's been on TV. You may recognize her. She's got a sneaker addiction, speaking of addictions, and her collection is unbelievable. So we'll speak to her about that. That's something I have in common with her. I'm also a bit of a sneaker addict. So we'll see whether or not we have problems, and we'll find out in the next hour. Stick around. cliffcentral.com. Monday, it's the 23rd of August.
This week on Auto Central.
Next questions from Spusiso, who's asked, there's a sound when I turn the steering wheel. I recently had a huge pothole while I was on my way to work, and the rack end of the car was broken. I replaced the rack and the tie rod end to the side where the rack end was broken. He then took the car to realignment to see what's going on, but he seems to notice that there's still that sound whenever he's trying to turn the wheel.
Catch Auto Central, SA's #1 motoring podcast, every Monday at 9 a.m.
Suffer from collectivism?
I've got this love affair with French antiques.
Do you have an obsession with objects?
This is a King's African Rifles bayonet.
Are you a fanatic? A devotee? Are you someone exhibiting enthusiasm or strong passion?
I've got like 4 or 5 really big trunks in the garage that are full of my Christmas decoration collection.
Cliff Central dispenses a weekly dose of collectomania. Join me as I talk to compulsive collectors. Fascinating.
Then you get the limited editions that were like 100 made worldwide.
Possibly a little weird.
So I have a collection of collections.
Collectomania, Mondays on the Gareth Cliff Show. Brought to you by SA Gold Coin Exchange and the Scoin Shop.
I put it like wow. This that sound. These oaks don't work hard like me. I hope they know by now.
Yeah, well, that is the MKT show. Gareth will be back in a little bit. As Dr. Hanan was saying, was try and get off social media. You know, this whole social media thing is, wow, it is eating into relationships. It is eating into family time. It's also eating into eating time, which is more important.
Oh shit, I'm late. Sorry, I missed the cue.
It's okay. I'm competent. No need to worry.
Thanks for handling.
You have a competent number 3. Leigh-Ann's a competent number 2. I'm a great number 3.
What were you talking about? How did you fill the gap?
I carried on what Dr. Hanan was saying. You know, I finished off with social media eats into one of my favorite things, my eating time. I try and stay off it when I'm at home because I like to eat. You know, but on a serious note, it eats into family. It eats into relationships, which, you know, it's cheesy to say, but they are so important.
I thought that whole social media conversation was really interesting because I actually posted a clip this weekend. Bill Maher, you know Bill Maher from Real Time. He's awesome. I disagree with some of his politics, but who cares? I mean, I think the guy's a really, really smart individual. He went on a rant about Apple. So it turns out Apple want to have the ability to snoop through your photographs just to check that you're not a pedophile.
What?
Yeah. This is something they've just launched a little update, which you may or may not be aware of. But just in case you're a pedophile, they're going to go through your cloud and just check out your pictures anyway. So I don't know how you feel about that. Certainly, I have nothing to hide, but it's none of Apple's fucking business to go through my pictures, you know? That really makes me very angry. And they're using this kind of kiddie porn angle as their trump card to be able to just look at all your pictures. Now, I don't want Tim Cook rifling through my stuff. Not that he's going to. I'm not important enough to Tim Cook. But I don't think anyone should be doing this, ever.
Well, that goes to a crazy place. You shouldn't make laws for the minority. Like, then we headed towards, because like what I just said now, imagine somebody snooped into our conversation where I say, you are not allowed to come to my house and whinge. What separates me then from Stalin? You know what I mean? How would artificial learning know that I don't mean that I will kill you if you don't come to my house? Because I would imagine it would extrapolate that I'm that person. And now what Jacob Zuma and his henchmen pitch up at my door and say, we heard you want to become Kim Jong-un.
Well, I mean, that's you know, there's got to be a line, but I think you've just identified exactly where that line is, Mbulelo, is that you don't make laws for the minority. You make laws as a general rule for society, and you hope that most people aren't in the extremes, right?
And they aren't.
No, they're not. I mean, most of them aren't. Most people are not looking to cause shit and take over and coup d'etats and sedition and, you know, treason and that kind of thing. But you have laws for that already. We have laws. If you find out that someone is doing something criminal online, then you have the right to arrest them already. And even if you have a suspicion that they're doing something illegal online, then you have the right to arrest them and to at least search their computer or whatever. But the idea that someone in Apple, you know, and some just qualified,
that's the thing. They're all interns,
right? Suddenly they have the master password, and they can get into Leigh-Ann and Mbulelo and Gareth's iCloud, and they can suddenly, like, they'll find a picture that I sent to Leigh-Ann and Mbulelo to make them laugh, and they'll go, well, that's not acceptable. Next thing you know, your device is locked, and you've got cops banging on your door just because you told an inappropriate joke. And that could happen. I mean, we've seen stranger things than that happen, right? Anyway, Bill Maher went on about this, and it's worth watching the clip. I actually uploaded it to my Facebook. I'll see if I can't just share it from Cliff Central a bit later on, and you'll get the idea. But his biggest problem is that these devices are precisely what we were discussing with Dr. Hanan, addictive. And the device is the addictive thing. It's not, you know, if Facebook was only a website, you wouldn't go on it so much, but it's on here. That's the problem. It's on your phone. And he said, when he was a kid, and obviously he's a little bit older than us on the show this morning, but Bill Maher is probably, I don't know, he's probably 60 something by now, or maybe approaching his 60s from the 50s side. He was saying when he was a kid, he used to love certain TV shows, but he couldn't take them with him to bed at night. He couldn't take the TV show in the car with him, and switch it on while he was driving. He couldn't take the TV show to dinner with his friends and then ignore his friends and sit on his phone watching his TV. That's what people do these days. You see these people who go to dinner and they literally ignore each other across the table because their faces are being sucked in by this machine. And I think, well, what's the point of even going out for dinner? What's the point of being
all people are doing it together. They're swiping through Tinder together or watching TikTok together. Having these get-togethers where you use social media instead of speaking to each other.
But I also think we shouldn't panic. Like, relatively speaking, in the human timeline, smartphones are new. It's like we aren't actually evolved to deal with these things. And in 100 years' time, they'll just be a part of society. And we don't know where people are smart. Like, eventually, like, we'll hit rock bottom. And, these things are so new. And we always want to figure it out immediately, especially in this day and age. It's like, we'll get better at it in the long run.
So I mean, do you have rules? Because you got rules for everything, Bolelo. Yeah. Do you have rules like when people visit you or when you go out for dinner? No phones? Do you impose strict rules and things? Because you are a real autocrat. We know that already. If you were in charge of New Zealand, you'd be worse than Jacinda Ardern. You would. You'd have a ton of rules. So, I mean, how do you feel about these things when they happen?
So I have left a date before because she was on her phone and she came back and I told her, listen, I can also stay at home and text. So absolutely with my, I don't go to, number one, like I work really, really hard, or I like to think I do. I don't have the time to come and sit with you while you're on your phone. If you've got something better to do, let's not do this. Like I've also got stuff to do. Absolutely, I've got rules. Phones away.
How did I know when I asked you this would be the story? You'd have some very, very strict rule and even a story to back it up.
But I will walk away. Like if you're on your phone, like because you know what, I respect you enough. If I say let's go to lunch, is that my phone airplane mode, boom, pocket. Right. We're doing what we're doing. Absolutely, you need rules, dude. You need rules.
I try very hard. Even if my phone rings and it's important, like let's say it's family, which I think kind of trumps a lot of things. If I'm sitting with anybody and my phone rings and it is family, I go, excuse me, do you mind if I take this? It's, my sister or my mom or whoever. And even then I feel bad. So I don't sit there at the table yakking it up while this person has to watch me. I get up and I'll walk away and I'll, come back to the table, hopefully as quickly as possible. I certainly won't have, everything's fine. Yeah, how was your day? I'll be like, I'm at lunch. I'll call you back later or whatever. But some people have none of those qualms. Huh? They'll be talking to you and they'll go, they'll actually put up their index finger in your face and they'll go and pick up, hello. Yeah, how's it? Yeah, no problem. What's been going on? And then they'll carry on as if they were talking to you the whole time and it wasn't rude at all.
I just hate it when your ears are exposed to their conversation and it's difficult to concentrate on anything else. So, for instance, I was in a work meeting. We were online with our cameras on, but it was an internal meeting and very informal. And I saw my mom was calling. If it was a client, I obviously wouldn't have answered. But because it was just us, I muted myself and then quickly answered my mom and said, hi, Mom, I'm in a meeting. I'll speak to you a little bit later. And I noticed that the two people I was on the work call with they stopped talking and it was almost as if they were listening to me. And then I realized I hadn't muted myself properly.
Okay.
It must have seemed so rude.
But speaking of that, I have another cracking story for you quick, Gareth.
Go on.
Is to what Leigh-Ann's talking about is I cannot stand loud guy on his phone in an airport line or at the shops. So I address it.
Somewhere where you can't get away, right? Like you can't walk away from their conversation. You're roped in. Or if they're in the car with you and they start having this long ass conversation, and sometimes they'll put it on speaker, and you're like, this is none of my business. I don't want to be part of this conversation.
Listen, car, I'm generally in the car with somebody I know, blah, blah, blah. They're doing business, whatever. In line when I'm shopping or at the airport. So I will go, hey, we should do the big merger and see if Karen can have that sealed by Monday morning, 7:00. See if you can get the paperwork in. And there's a big bonus in it for all of us. I go up to that guy. I go up to, he's in the airport. He's very important. I've done this before, and I will do it. He's in the airport. Oh, yeah. Who the hell are you to impose on families and people? No, I will address that immediately as well.
So
yes, he's very important.
Oh, you say it?
No, I walk up to them on the phone.
Okay.
So while they're screaming on their phone, I go up. He's in the airport. He's very important. Yes. So I yell while he's yelling.
Aren't you worried about someone like that just suddenly like getting really aggressive with you?
I went to boarding school, Chief. Let's go. I'm always ready. I'm always ready.
Maybe you're right. Maybe that's the way to do it. So I don't have too many dramatic stories, and I certainly wouldn't go to the lengths you do to embarrass those people. But it does just make me a little bit irked when you're in the middle of something and someone goes, "Excuse me," and they put their finger up and they tell you to just wait while they take their very important call. And also those people who, while you're on the phone to them, consider it okay to like talk to the cashier, like you're busy on the phone with them and you're saying, well, I thought that maybe we could get together on Tuesday, and they go, just make it 18 rand on, and get me 3 packs of those. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. And you're like, what? Hello?
It's so strange, but the conversations that I've been forced to listen to always involve a man who is asserting his power when it comes to money, wealth, investment, being a boss. Yeah. No, so the deal went down, and listen, guys, this is an important deal.
Some turd.
So annoying. But it's in the same vein of people playing their music loudly in their car, making me listen to their music. Why are they making me listen to their music?
Someone who drives past your house with their huge bass bin in their Golf Chico, making the whole back of the car jump up and down, and they think, oh, this makes me look cool. No, it doesn't. You're forcing me to listen to your shit music. It's horrible. So I don't know what Michael's talking about here. Michael says, Gareth, you're preempting the big news of the week, which I'm sure we'll discuss when it is released. What's the big news of the week?
No, I think he's trolling what you were saying earlier about meteorologists, etc. I think it's a bit of a troll message. Yeah, I see what he's doing there. Well played, right. Michael.
But he does say later on we should be able to mute other people. Now that is a good idea. Imagine if you could actually mute a whole person.
But they must know. They must know that you've muted them.
So it's like a block rather than a mute, because you can mute on social media, but people don't know that you've stopped following them.
Do you remember the movie, Adam Sandler's movie, the absolute train wreck of a film, but Click? I don't know if you remember. He had the remote where he could control. Yeah, don't worry about it. Terrible film, but essentially that concept.
So the concept is actually mute people.
Well, you can kind of control, people with the remote and sort of everything around you. I made it through about half of the film.
Like, what a great idea. If they made a shitty film out of that, then they really are stupid, because that's a great concept. I think it's an awesome. I mean, wouldn't that be fantastic? Basically, remote control your whole life from other people around you. Fast forward, rewind. I've often thought that's God's. Like, if God has a hobby, his hobby is to park in front of like this whatever screen he's watching us on. Probably like some extraordinary 6K immersive virtual reality screen, who knows? And he sits there with his remote and he's like, let's watch that idiot fall off that building again. And he rewinds and he presses play and he goes, Gabriel, you got to come and see this shit. Call Call the others. Just call the whole lot of them. Tell them they got the day off. They got to come and watch this. Watch this moron. He drives his car right into that wall. And they all sit there and they watch this. Telling you. I mean, obviously, the idea I have of God is not as the supreme, omniscient, omnipotent creature. To me, he's far more human and enjoys dumb stuff like we do. All right. I didn't get to headlines earlier. Do you want to hear some headlines? Are you interested in that? Because I do think we would be in dereliction of duty if we didn't do a couple of headlines this morning. So let's actually pay attention to the world around us instead of just talking nonsense. Cape Town protesters fear mandatory vaccinations. I would be, again, we're on this vaccination discussion, and there are a bunch of people who are supporting this Dr. Susan Vosloo, who was in the news a little bit, and she's actually made contact with me and she wants to come on the show. And I've said to her, well, whenever you're ready, you can come and talk to us. But a crowd of anti-vaxxers gathered outside Groote Schuur Hospital. Now, by the way, I don't know that it's fair to call these people anti-vaxxers until you actually have interviewed each and every one of them and asked them, like, are you against the polio vaccine? Are you against the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine? Because to call them anti-vaxxers just because they're nervous about this vaccine is not fair. It's just you're lumping them in with a bunch of crackpots, and anti-vaxxers are crackpots. They're nutcases. People who are generally anti-vax are anti-science. We all accept that, right? But we don't know if these people might not be anti-vaxxers. Some of them might be very smart, very together people who are just not willing to take a risk on a certain thing because they've been, I don't know, exposed to information that the rest of us haven't yet encountered. And maybe they're very sensible people. Maybe they're relatives of yours or mine. I don't think it's fair to call them anti-vaxxers just off the bat.
But in general.
In general, of course. But, again, there are exceptions to every rule. There were about 100 people who tried gathering on the grounds of the hospital, but asked to move to the perimeter and then escorted away by SAPs and law enforcement. They chanted, "Why are you lying, Cyril? We need jobs, not jabs," which is true, in response to a flyer that circulated this week. And I don't. This is okay. It wasn't led by any organization. There wasn't some political organization who tried to make this happen. It wasn't the one collective of people who specifically sent out a WhatsApp and they all gathered. This was various groups of people. Some of them were anti this vaccine. Some of them were worried about the way that Susan Vosloo has been treated in the media, because apparently this woman had the temerity to suggest that we don't know what all the long-term effects of this vaccine are. That's a true thing to say. That's not controversial. She said some other things which are controversial. Some of it is nonsense, obviously, but we need to investigate these things. We need to talk about it. Anyway, a lot of people saying they're passionate about it because they believe human rights are being challenged and overrun. I think we should make our voices heard in terms of the lockdown, frankly. Forget about the vaccine, because if people want to get vaccinated now, they can. It's open to anyone over the age of 18, right, Leigh-Ann?
Yes, correct.
So I want to be very clear about our position on this show, because I think these days it does matter, is that the overwhelming evidence is that getting the vaccine decreases your chances of being hospitalized and getting very sick and certainly of dying. Those are good enough reasons for me to suggest to anybody who's worried that you better get the vaccine rather than not get the vaccine. That's a simple position to take, right? It's not hugely complicated. So get the vaccine, especially if you are a person who's very worried. If your life has been turned upside down and you are fearful of this disease, or you have comorbidities, or you're worried about someone in your family getting it from you, you're still going to be transmissible in some cases, because nothing is 100%. But this thing will reduce, this vaccine will reduce your chances of getting very sick yourself, ending up in hospital, and certainly reduce your chances of dying. That's good enough for me. Like, my parents got it the other day, and I was all for it. I said to them, good. Because now, if anything happens to you, at least we know you did everything you could. Right? Makes sense.
Sure.
That is, to my mind, that's the best position to occupy. And I've thought about it for a long time, and I've listened to people on all sides, and I've paid attention to even the crackpots, even the complete nutcases, the people who are massively pro-vaccine right at the start, who had no idea what was going to happen, and who just took government's word for granted. I was listening to those people. I've also listened to the nutcase anti-vaxxers. And to me, those are not sensible positions to occupy. Somewhere in the middle is the right place to be. And I've said to all the people I love and care about, especially if they are older than I am, or if they have comorbidities, not that that's a guide at all, but it might be a complicating factor, get it. I mean, it's true that in America, what is it? 4 out of 5 people who have been hospitalized and have died have had one of the comorbidities, whether it's, age, diabetes, heart issues, obesity being the biggest one. And again, I wish that we could be honest about that in South Africa, because we've got a hugely obese population, if you'll pardon that pun, and I'm not being rude or mean here, but we do. We have an enormous, again, enormous. We have a problem with people who are fat in South Africa, and those fat people are at huge risk anyway of all kinds of other problems. So if you're going to be taking your health a little more seriously post-pandemic, let's get South Africa in a state where we're in better shape, and we're eating better, and we're thinking carefully about what we do with our bodies, because it's not the government's responsibility or my responsibility or some stranger who's paying their medical aid's responsibility to make sure that you're safe and that you're in the best possible health you could be, when you obviously don't care about yourself enough. Get the exercise. So let's do what we can before we start asking other people to do things. I think that's fair enough.
And also, what we need to do, something that just does offend me is, I'm so sick and tired of hearing of people say, I'm a fan of science or not. No. You don't get to be a fan or not. This isn't, what you must say is, I don't understand scientific language, because I don't say I'm a fan of the Spanish language. No, I either understand it or don't. What you do is, you either don't have a rudimentary understanding of science at the most elementary level, and that's fine. That's what you must say. Stop saying, I'm not a fan of vaccines. You got no clue what you're talking about. And I mean, I've got a rudimentary understanding of science, so I would never say I'm a fan of it, but I have an elementary understanding, so I can engage with the language.
Well, I mean, frankly, though, but who cares if you're a fan? I mean, we should all be fans of science. The fact that we've managed to live longer, live healthier, science has helped us to gain a foothold into immortality. We have incredible technology at our disposal. All of that stuff should make you a fan, whether you like it or not. It almost goes without saying that we should all be fans of science, but that doesn't necessarily help with the truth of it. And your opinion on something doesn't shift that needle either way.
It's not politics.
Speaking of fans, big story. A lot of people very worried. OnlyFans is going to ban sexually explicit content. Now, forgive me.
What's the point?
Right. I'm not a huge acolyte of OnlyFans. The little bit that I know about it is stuff we've spoken about on this show. Apparently, OnlyFans is just porn. So if you ban sexually explicit content on OnlyFans, what's left on OnlyFans? What's the point? What is it for?
Where are dumb hot chicks going to make money now?
Yeah, exactly.
What are these people going to do? I mean,
I'm a huge fan of hot chicks, by the way. I just want to know, what are they going to do now?
There are no jobs for these people. I mean, what are they going to do when they have to quit their OnlyFans, where they're charging you to see their ass shake or whatever it is that they're doing there? Does anyone know what this means for the economy, the online economy? This is very bad news, right? I mean, how stupid are OnlyFans? By the way, who's in charge of that business? Because they've already made a walloping amount of money. Maybe they just know. Maybe they know the authorities are coming after them. But this is such a great idea. I wish it was my idea, because you don't have to actually make the content. You don't have to be the person who's putting your titty pictures out there or whatever. You just get a percentage of everything that they get. And some of these people are making thousands and thousands of dollars a month. So apparently some of the big OnlyFans stars are able to live off of this, more than YouTube stars. They're able to make a really good living, like buy a property, finance a car, all that kind of shit through this OnlyFans. Now, if they're going to ban sexually explicit content. We're not going to listen to these people philosophize. We're not going to hear what their thoughts on the vaccine are. We're not going to hear about their great new invention that's going to, make humanity a different entity for the next 100 years. We're going there. If we're going to OnlyFans, we're going to see them naked. So ban the explicit sexual stuff. What's left? Anybody know?
Porn site.
And who's doing the banning, by the way?
Why? Why are they banning? This is the least of our problems. Hot chicks being naked. We're gonna find a platform for them. Like OnlyFans, please don't think you are an exclusive place. The internet's massive.
Surely the people will just start their own.
Yes. Privatize your Instagram account. Or your uncle.
Or just create your own, cliffcentral.com. Just create your own .com, and then people can go there and pay a subscription, and you can show them your titties or whatever.
What's their reason? I'd love to know. What's OnlyFans' reason? Are they clearing up their PR?
Well, you think we're confused? I mean, you see how the OnlyFans people are confused, because there was so much noise about this on social media over the weekend. And this story is from, let me just read the story as it's written here. This is from the BBC. They say the subscription site OnlyFans, known for its adult content, has announced it will block sexually explicit photos and videos from the 1st of October. People will still be able to post nude content on the site, but this will be consistent with OnlyFans policies. So apparently it's come...
Maybe it's like nudity is different to sexually explicit.
Well, there's a very fine line. It's gray. I mean, so this is not black and white, right? It's very hard to... How do you separate the nudity from the sexual content? Because sometimes, I get that an artistic nude, and you could have a picture of a nude woman on your wall. It's not pornography. I get that, right? I understand that some art involves nudity, and nudity is just a state of being for some humans, and it's not necessarily at all linked to sex. But on OnlyFans, that's a very blurry line. I don't know that that's going to work. Anyway, apparently they say that it's come after pressure from banking partners of the site. They've grown during the pandemic. They say they had 130 million users. In order to ensure the long-term sustainability of our platform and continue to host an inclusive community of creators and fans, we must evolve our content guidelines, they've said. The London-based social media site enables its creators to post nude videos and photos and charge subscribers for tips or a monthly fee. Creators can post a range of content from cooking to fitness videos, but it is best known for pornography. Yeah, who's going there to subscribe to someone fucking cooking?
To get a coronation chicken recipe.
Do me a favor. Anyway.
You see, so maybe it's... because I don't use the platform as a fan, and certainly not as a creator. But maybe it's just getting a bit too far in terms of perhaps inserting things into things. Nudity
is that what you think?
Yeah,
is that what's going on there?
That's what I'm thinking.
Wow. That's the whole...
As soon as you go beyond just standing there as a nude person and you start interacting with yourself, I think that's when it becomes problematic.
Fair enough. I can live with that. I can live with what you're saying there, Leigh-Ann.
Yeah, but those things are still going to be on the internet. There's some very dark places on the internet, and people will find them anyway. So if OnlyFans is going to turn these people away, then it's going to go to dark, dangerous places. And I wouldn't be surprised if we suddenly see an upsurge in OnlyFans type like copy sites, almost like you see these sites that are doing the same thing OnlyFans and are doing now without the rules, because those people will pick up all the slack and they'll make all the money. So fine, maybe this is the time for Leigh-Ann and Bulelo and I to start our own OnlyFans here. And we won't. You can post whatever
separately, not together.
Yeah, whatever sick shit you want, you go for it.
If you're unbelievably good looking, I feel it is my duty to vet that, to vet all of that content and then pass it on to somebody.
To make money. I mean, listen, some people, I hate to say this, but it is true. Some people, all they've got is their looks. So This
you
is
shouldn't
like
hate to say that. It's very true. And we
gold
never
mine.
disabuse them of that, by the way, so that they don't tend to age too well. But it is very true. A lot of people, thank God I've never had that problem. I've always said I've got to think hard. Thank the Lord.
All right, so it's time for Collectomania. This is our chance every week to check in with one or two collectors, find out what they're up to. We've spoken to so many amazing people already who have the most insane, fantastic, incredible, sexy, exciting collections. And today is no exception to that. We last spoke to Kim Jayde on the show back in 2019 when she was still a presenter on MTV Base. Do you remember? Today she's back for another reason. That is to show off her amazing sneaker collection. This is something we are like twins in this respect, Kim. I'm so excited to talk to you about this. I have a sneaker obsession too. I haven't been excited like this to talk about a collection for weeks. Not that we've had boring ones, but this one's especially appealing to me because it's something I have in common with her. It's, of course, brought to you by the South African Gold Coin Exchange and the Scoin Shop. And you can find out about the Scoin Shop and the South African Gold Coin Exchange by going to cliffcentral.com and following the links, or just visit them on their own site. They're amazing. And if you think it's time for you to invest in a little bit of gold or silver, even platinum, you can do this through them. You know that. You can go on and become a collector right now. So Kim is a model. She's a TV presenter, an influencer. She's originally from Zim, but she's also gearing up for the second season of Kicking It with Kim Jayde. That's a YouTube show that features renowned personalities in the entertainment industry speaking about their love of sneakers. So this is the perfect time to bring her in and to hear, hey, Kim, how the hell are you?
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you look gorgeous for this time of the morning, but then that
Listen, I got cute just for you, Gareth. I'm ready.
What can I say? This is fantastic. Listen, I see boxes and boxes and boxes in the background there. I see a couple of them displayed prominently on the shelves. Sneakers, it's a problem, right? Do you think you're addicted?
Definitely. But I think there are worse addictions you could have. So this one, not too bad.
When did it start?
Geez, I've been collecting for, I think, over 6 years now. It really started because a brand started seeding me sneakers when I was still a model, and I didn't really know much about them. And then when I would be wearing these expensive sneakers, people are like, because guys really know their stuff, as you would know. They're like, damn, talk to me about the colorway. Oh, you just got, and I was like, okay, this is a thing. I need to know what I'm talking about if I'm going to be wearing these shoes. And I started researching and then traveling the world and then following all these sneaker accounts. And that's kind of how I got hooked.
Well, it looks like you've got an impressive collection. We'll get into the details of that in a moment. I was wearing a pair of sneakers. See, this friend of mine who's also obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
He called me up one day and he's like, listen, I ordered a pair of sneakers from the US. They've just arrived.
Mm-hmm.
They're a half a size too big for me. Do you want them? And I'll give them to you at X price. Like the fact that we actually know each other's shoe size is ridiculous.
So cute.
This happens when you're a collector of these sorts of things.
True.
So I was like, oh, how much are you going to give them to me for? So he said, and listen, when you get into these collections and these very rare sneakers, it can be pricey.
Very.
He gave me like a 40% discount because he said to send it back, it's like not worth it. And
yeah. And importing tax for sneakers is crazy. It's insane.
Exactly. So he sold them to me, and I don't even wear these things. They're so fantastic. They're beautiful. They're in loads of colors.
Do you mind if I ask what they are? What is the sneaker?
I'm not going to say it now. I'll go and fetch them just now and show you.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, for that.
But the other day, someone posted an Instagram of like a pair of sneakers that I hadn't seen before. I had to be very, very composed to not go on there and buy them immediately. It's scary, man.
What is your, do you have a specific brand or specific sneaker that you like?
Adidas is mostly, that makes up.
Nice.
I see lots of Nike in your collection.
Listen, okay, so I think I can actually turn the cam so you guys can see. So this is my sneaker closet. It starts from there and goes all the way around.
Look at this.
It's a bit ridiculous, I'm not gonna lie. But it is what it is. We're here. And now I'm on your show. Also, your OnlyFans chat was so I was deep engaged because I know so many girls that are going to struggle financially because of it.
You do, right? And that's girls here in South Africa who doing
There's a lot
OnlyFans.
of girls in South Africa and influencers that make a lot of money with OnlyFans.
All right. Well, before we go down the OnlyFans path,
Okay.
how many pairs of sneakers do you reckon you have?
Look, easily over 150, I think. I did a cleanse in December and gave away 70 pairs. So this is me scaling down.
Who did you give them away to?
I work with the Special Olympics here in South Africa.
Oh,
so I gave
wow.
the sneakers they can give it to the athletes and to some of the kids.
That's amazing. All right. I'm going to show some pictures here. Tell us about this pair of sneakers here. This is the one directly.
Oh, amazing. Okay. So I actually have them right here. These are one of my grails. So Gareth, as a sneakerhead, you know what a grail is. A grail is very personal to each person. That is your sneaker that you've always wanted to get. It has a special meaning and it's really sentimental. This happens to be the J Balvin Jordan 1 collab. They were released over a year ago. J Balvin is the first Latino artist in history to do a collaboration with the Jordan brand, so it's very iconic. He actually wore them on stage when he performed at the Super Bowl with J-Lo. J-Lo brought him on. He came in these Jordans. No one obviously had seen them before. And they were like, whoa, these are crazy. And J-Lo actually asked him, was like, J Balvin, I need a pair as soon as you're done, as soon as they're out. So they're very special. And I got gifted these last year because they're very expensive. I can't afford them.
You can't afford them, but someone gave them to you. How much do those cost?
Yeah. These ones go for you can find them for as much as 30,000 Rand. I have a pair that's was going at one point. So this is the Off-White Jordan sale. Off-White is obviously Virgil Abloh's brand. Virgil is the creative director of Louis Vuitton. So this collaboration at one point was going for 52,000 Rand for a single pair of sneakers, which is a little bit crazy, but I managed to buy these. I got them in New York and had them imported, and I wore them to Sneaker Exchange. And Sneaker Exchange is a major community event for the sneakerheads. So we all come together and we buy, sell, trade. And I wore them to Sneaker Exchange, and all the boys were like, "Damn, Kim!" I said, "Yes, respect."
I love it. All right, now. What is the most interesting thing about this for you? Is it just that this is an endless thing because they're always bringing out new ones? You never really can complete your collection. There's always going to be a pair of sneakers that you don't have. I mean, no one in the world, even the richest people that exist, can't afford to buy all the sneakers because you've got to find a place to put them, you can't wear them all.
Look, I've been invited to speak at so many different events and panels about the sneaker culture, trying to explain it to people that don't get it, because they were like, Kim, there's no way you'll ever wear all 150 pairs of shoes in a year type of thing. And the research into it is actually very interesting, Gareth. If you look into it, especially in the States, they've done numerous studies. And one of the research papers that I read was trying to understand why people collect sneakers. And it's tied into so many different things. Is number one, they talk about the fact that every sneakerhead has a personal connection to a sneaker. So it takes them back to their childhood, or they saw their dad rocking these kicks, or they really come from struggle and they always wanted to be able to afford this pair of kicks. And now as an adult, they go and buy these very rare shoes. Number two, it's tied into their personal icons, right? So many people buy the Jordan brand because Michael Jordan did for African-American culture and for sports on a global level what no one else had ever done before. And so buying a Jordan and wearing a Jordan represents him, represents what he's done, you know, especially for people of color. The same thing with Yeezys. Kanye is a goat in the music industry and fashion industry. And so being able to own a pair of sneakers that he designs, especially because his silhouettes are crazy. I don't know if you've seen, these are the foam runners. This is one of Kanye's
that
Yeezys.
is horrific.
Foam runner. It's people compare it to a Croc. This is another one of the Yeezy sneakers. I'm sure you can see.
Right, I've seen
His
those.
silhouette is crazy, and he pushes it.
So chunky. Ugh.
It's different. My point is that by being able to wear a pair of sneakers that your favorite artist or your favorite sports superstar, basketball player, football player, it connects the fans to their icons. And then the final thing is the community. Gareth, you and I don't really know each other. We've chatted at maybe events or in interviews, but the fact that we have a shared love and understanding for the sneaker culture, we have a shared terminology. You talk about grails and drops and L's and W's. These are things that connect people from all over the world, right? Because we all use the same terminology. That's the definition of community, right? So as much as people don't understand it or don't respect it or think it's a waste of money, for us in the community, it really connects us all over the world.
I mean, you've even started a YouTube channel with just sneakers, and this just shows you how huge the interest in this is. In South Africa, do you have any idea of how big the sneaker community is?
It's really big and growing, especially amongst the youngest generation now, like the Gen Ys and Gen Xs. But globally, the sneaker industry is worth over $72 billion, which is insane. If you just look at reseller market, like a normal pair of Jordans goes for about 2,500 Rand. You can resell them for up to as much as 12,000 Rand in the same day. Just because they sell out instantly. That's how valuable they are. So for me personally, I don't plan on keeping these kicks forever. I definitely plan on selling them. I can buy a house with the sneakers in this room right now. So for me, it is a long-term investment as well as being a passion right now.
So I know Leigh-Ann and Bulelo and many of the people who are listening to us now may be thinking these people are insane.
Yes.
This is
yeah, I mean, look,
ridiculous.
Let's put things into perspective. My first car cost 30,000 Rand. So, but I remember when I was into trends as you know, as a teenager, and also I don't know if it has some kind of effect, but in the south of Joburg, we were very proud of our footwear.
Yeah.
And it was all about, you know, having the best brand name and when they came out first. So yeah, I completely identify with it. It's just not something that I would practice anymore.
Yeah,
so I think
for
it's
sure.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, somebody says here, alarm bells. Where's Dr. Hanan? He's our psychologist. So does
Guys, Dr. Hanan is my personal therapist. I'm not exaggerating.
Have you ever
I love him. But also, he's wearing Yeezys in our sessions, and I'm like, Hanan, you're wearing Yeezys.
he's also obsessed, so he can't call you he can't say that you're addicted and you're dangerously obsessed with sneakers because he is too clearly.
Yes.
All right. What happens in a relationship where somebody sees that you've got this obsessive collection, and does this chase people away? I mean, even friends, do they go, oof, I love Kim, but she's insane?
I think it's the opposite. I think when people come to my house, the first thing they do is come to my sneaker room and snap pictures in here. And they're like, I wish I was your size, so I would steal your sneakers. Guys, it can be intimidating, although it's more respect, to be honest, because the sneaker community is a male-dominated boys club. It's mostly boys, and there's not a lot of girls that really know what they're talking about when it comes to sneakers and sneaker collection and the history of it and things like that. So it's mostly like, props.
Well, Derek says Travis Scott Jordans are sick.
Yes.
Tracy says, what sneakers would you not be seen dead in? That's an interesting question.
Oh, that's a good one. Look, I'm not specific to brands, although I have a lot of Jordans. I wear everything, but it really is about personal taste. It's not about more sneakers. It's more, I'm not a Crocs girl, which is ironic because everyone compares Yeezys to Crocs, like the Yeezy foam runners. But yeah, I'm not really a Crocs girl.
So you asked me earlier, like, what are my favorite shoes? I went on a spending spree with Adidas NMDs, which are like, that's a specific range. They've got shoes.
Yes.
They are so sexy. They're so fantastic. You get them in thousands of colors, and like, you know, I looked at a pair of them that I've been wearing, and they're starting to look really shitty now. But I still love them more than like a brand. If you gave me a brand new pair of, you know, of let's say the most expensive leather dress shoes you could get, and you gave me a really sexy pair of Adidas NMDs. I'll take the NMDs any day.
Listen, also there's a trend now to beat up your sneakers. To everyone that's watching, beating up your sneakers is when you wear your sneakers a lot and they're worn and like they look like they've been through shit. There's a trend now where people buy brand new sneakers and intentionally paint them, crease them to make them look worn. It's like a thing. So Gareth, you're probably on trend by wearing your beat up NMDs.
Well, I mean, one of my friends actually does treatments on them. So he'll paint them, he'll put like gold speckles on the sides. It's amazing. And they really look fantastic. And this is his whole business. He does this for it's part of one of the things that he does for a living. He makes some seriously good money out of it too. Because he buys
sneaker customizing.
And then he makes them one of a kind, and then people will pay, an extra $1,000 for them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Someone says here, this reminds me of some of the classics: Ewing 33s, Reebok pumps, Air Max 90s. I mean, Leigh-Ann, that's your gen.
Yeah, for us, it was Patrick earrings. You had to have a pair of those, and Fila was really, really big as well during my growing up phase. So where do they sit at the moment, Fila and Patrick earrings?
Fila's coming back in South Africa.
Fila's very back.
Yeah, and it's a really affordable brand, and the shoes and clothes are very comfortable. So that's nice. I think the thing that puts a lot of people off is that the reseller market for Jordan 1s is so insane that the average 12-year-old or 14-year-old can't even afford them because their parents are like, guys, I'm not going to spend this much money on shoes. School fees, bills to pay. We're not going to spend 12,000 Rand on sneakers. But they can afford to buy you a pair of Filas or Reeboks or Adidas. So it's very important to have that range of brands and price ranges.
I mean, I know that some of them are really expensive, but honestly, it's such a personal thing that sometimes people will want the really cheap things. I mean, I know people who buy those really cheap tennis shoes, those plain canvas, and they look amazing and they look after them so beautifully. Where do you go to get your sneakers cleaned?
Oh, I clean my own sneakers. I don't take them in. However, recently,
how do you clean them? Because this is a whole separate conversation.
Oh yes, it's a whole conversation how to clean your sneakers. But if you look on the top brands' websites, because they can't push a specific product, they do tell you, especially if you go on the Nike.com website for your leather sneakers, the best thing to do is to get some warm water and put a little bit of fabric detergent. So what you'd use to wash your clothes, because it's very gentle, and wipe them with a soft cloth. That's the best way to clean them. And then for the soles, if you want to get the dirt, get rid of the dirt, you just use a toothbrush or any kind of brush to wash your shoes, just to wash underneath. Please don't use any bleach products.
No,
I'm not going to name brands, but be very careful because it will stain the leather and it will turn the sole from white to yellow.
Just quickly, the obvious thing that a lot of people might be thinking at this point is that for you to take your whole collection out and start cleaning it, it could be like a week or two. So you obviously clean them. You clean them when you've used them, and you put them back in the boxes to protect them.
Definitely. That's why I keep the boxes, because like I said, one day I do plan on reselling my collection, not now, but a sneaker is actually more valuable if it comes in the original box. So for storage purposes and for value purposes, it's best to keep your box if you want to sell your sneakers one day.
Sure. Okay. How do you know when it's time to get rid of them if they're really starting to look disheveled and shitty, but you still love them? Because that's what I need. I need to say.
I don't know. I said, it's very personal.
Throw them away.
It's very personal. You get rid of your kicks when it's time. I've got my very first pair of sneakers that I ever bought was a pair of classic Air Force One high tops. By the way, guys, did you know that Dr. Dre has over 600 pairs of Air Force Ones, the lows? He only wears Air Force One, all white, white on white. He has an entire room and it's just his Air Force Ones, like no other color, no other brand, like nothing. That's him for life. So it's a classic shoe, and it's one of Nike's best sellers, which is crazy and amazing up to this day.
Martine says, Kim, you have such a big heart for donating too. Bless you. Yeah, that's really like 70 pairs of your sneakers that you gave away to, you said the Paralympics?
Special Olympics. I've been an ambassador with them for 5 years. Yeah.
Corona's Boring says, to be honest, those 30K sneakers look better and more reliable than my first car.
You'd probably be able to sell these for more money than your first car. Real chat.
Admin says, this is insane, but I am actually really impressed.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You see, the boys, they stand. They see what I'm talking about. Please let me talk about my show really quickly. It's a shameless plug right now.
Go. Tell us.
Season 2 of Kickin' It with Jayde is coming up. And this show is, yes, it brings together sneaker lovers, but every guest has a specific topic. Last year, we had DJ Clark Kent, who I'm sure you guys know, is the person that discovered Jay-Z and got him signed to his first record label. He's one of the OG DJs in the hip hop scene in New York. So our season had incredible guests. We had Jayde Osman, who founded Sneaker Exchange. We had debunking. We had just really amazing guests. And this season is going to be even better. We have Blackie, DJ Doo-Up. We have Costa Tech. It's just a really fun show. And every guest, like I said, has their own topic of conversation. So we're not going to be doing the, tell me about your latest album, what inspired it? Nah, we want to know the real stuff. So are we talking about Black Lives Matter? Are we talking about female entrepreneurs? Are we talking about how the music industry is completely changing? You know, we don't have the big festivals anymore. How are artists surviving? Because people's cars got repoed. Like, it's a real thing.
Yeah, you think OnlyFans are the only people who are losing? There are lots of artists who lost their money.
Artists struggled. They really, really struggled.
Kim,
so yes,
where do you buy your sneakers? Because if you buy them on your own online, I mean, sometimes, you know, delivery is a problem in South Africa. As you said, import taxes are high. Is there are there a few shops? I mean, is there a place worth giving a plug to? Is there an exchange where you can go where you know you can get the sneakers you want? Are there people who can bring them in for you? Like, what's the plan here? Because it can get expensive.
Yes, and nowadays you can't just go to Nike and just buy the shoe you want the day it drops, because there are queues, like, and there's raffles, and you never win a raffle. So if you can't actually get it from the original store, so from a Nike or an Adidas, the best thing to do is to reach out to a reputable reseller. This is very tricky nowadays because there are so many fake Jordans, fake Yeezys, fake sneakers out there. So my personal plug is Buy My Sneaker. I use Buy My Sneaker, and I use Flex Kings, because I'll literally just send them a picture of the sneaker that I want and ask them, guys, can you get it? And they have connects all over the world. So there are people that specifically are in London. Cool, Jayde in South Africa wants this new Yeezy. Cool.
Give me that again. What's that called?
I'll DM at Buy My Sneaker and Flex King ZA. So they're my plugs to get authentic original sneakers, because that's very important. Also, who has the time to be dealing with customs, immigration? It took over a month just for me to get these ambush dunks. So this is a collaboration between a Japanese designer, I think, and they're super crazy. Oh, dude, they're so amazing. But it took a good 3 months just to bring the sneaker in, and I paid over 10 grand just to freaking customs. So it's not worth it, dude. Go to a reputable reseller. You'll pay a little bit of a markup, but it will save you time, effort, and a lot of money.
Look at this cool picture of you with all your sneakers in the back.
Hey!
So, fantastic. And look,
that's my sneaker closet. My home, my baby.
What are those?
These are Air Force Air Jordan 1s. Where are they?
Right.
They're cool. Where are they?
Yeah, they are behind you. Just next
really?
to, I think
they're
just
sorry.
See, I have an eye for this shit.
You really do. I got these actually off of Shesha at the OG price, which was amazing, because you can't get shoes at proper prices anymore. And Jordan has started doing sneakers that are just for females, because they realize they need to cater to the market. So I don't know if you see, there's got a whole bunch of bling on there. And the colorway is really cool. It's like a beetroot leather, and the sole is also beetroot. Oh, we can talk sneakers all day, guys. It's so much fun.
So, Bolelo and Leigh-Ann, this stuff doesn't grab you.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck.
No.
Excuse my French.
Really? No, look.
No, I mean, like I say, it used to. It used to be a thing for me. And then other things took over in my life, and there were other priorities. But I certainly understand it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And everybody has a thing, you know?
Silicide says, and here I have been buying Abibas and Mikey's. Fake one.
Listen, no shame. If you make your Abibas look fire, do you, boo?
The Hong Kong stuff is a big problem, right? I mean, there's so much fake stuff out there.
For sure. And I mean, it's not only in the footwear market. Apparel, the same. Bags, the same. Makeup, the same. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry because there are people that are willing to pay a lot less for a lesser quality product. Whereas I think when you become more financially stable and you can afford it, you will go for the real thing.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. All right. I can't believe that we've been talking. It feels like 5 minutes, but we've been talking about this for half an hour. And
time flies. I'm so sorry.
I'll send you a picture of my my little collection. I'm not by any means. I don't have a whole room like you do, but I've had to split them between different cupboards and different places. So and I don't want people thinking I'm as crazy as I am. You know, so let them walk in. I think I'm normal.
Keep it on the down low.
Correct. And then
it's like your dirty secret.
If you were watching me every day and you saw the sneakers I'd put on, you'd go, "Ooh, he's got a lot of sneakers." But otherwise, you'd never know.
Gareth, real question: when you're dressing yourself in the morning, do you go sneakers and then the rest of the outfit?
Yeah, pretty much.
I see you.
That's me. I got you. We're in the same WhatsApp group. I love it. Kim, very nice to see you. And thank you for sharing your passion.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun, guys. Thank you so much.
If you love this, go and subscribe to Kim's channel and you can go watch her YouTube show. Season 2 is launching, Kicking It with Kim Jayde, and you can find out more about sneakers there. There's going to be plenty of interesting stuff to talk to with plenty of interesting people. I love it. Thank you so much, Kim. Good to see you.
Thank you, guys. God bless.
Awesome. And you. So there she is. Isn't she great? Such energy. And I just love what they do. She just loves doing this stuff. Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's what I love about all these collections is just the passion behind it. It's really great. It's especially in times like we're in now, which may be a little bit darker and we're worrying about bigger things. It's refreshing to see people who are just so focused on one thing.
Something interesting. Marco says the disabled community love their sneakers, like myself, and they last longer if you can't walk and run because they look better and you don't get them all dirty and fucked up. So that's interesting. But that's a huge part of this. It's like all the different communities within the sneaker community. It's crazy. So this is, of course, brought to you by the South African Gold Coin Exchange and the Scoin Shop. You can find out more about them by going to cliffcentral.com too. And tell us about your collection. We want to know what you collect. You can email me, Gareth at cliffcentral.com, and we will get hold of you. You can tell us about your crazy and wild and wacky obsessions. Don't be ashamed. This is where we share this stuff. And we're allowed
to. Safe space.
It's a safe space. Exactly. There you go. All right. It's 8 o'clock. Have a happy day. We will see you tomorrow bright and early at 6 a.m. Or as Jacinda Ardern would say, at